We blame StreamYard.
Oh, wait, we're live, everybody.
Yes.
What is up? Finally, we are live. I've been refreshing, pressing it a million times, and we are live. If you are in the chat, let me know that you can hear me. It says we are live, but it says 0 people are watching. So hopefully it's working. But UFC Columbus here. Looking forward to this card, and I do see some people starting to roll in the chat. Sorry about the delays. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but yeah. UFC Columbus, we will kick it to Monk. Monk, are you looking forward to this card?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not going to be a UFC London. I'm not keeping my expectations that high because that was absolutely fantastic. But there are some good fights here. We still do not have a salary for one of the fighters, which is rather annoying, but shouldn't really matter too much. I'm very excited for it.
Sounds good. Luke, are you looking forward to UFC Columbus?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting slate. A lot of fun fights. I'm curious to see what everyone else's constructions are, but yeah, fun card. We obviously have a break week next week. Have some bangers, so yeah, let's chop it up.
And last but not least, we have Uncle Weezy. Weezy, you looking forward to it?
Damn right I am, man. This is a great card from top to bottom. You know, any card now that's got a live audience is something we used to take for granted, and now it kind of adds that extra level of excitement to these live events. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to seeing Matt Brown do work in his hometown. And there's a lot of bangers on this card. So yeah, let's get into this, man. This is a good one.
Sounds good. It is awesome that looks like we're good to go in terms of the stream. Thankfully, we're about to just, push it to tomorrow, but thankfully we want to do that. So as always, we're going to go through our fights to target, fight to fade, fighter to fade, favorite dog, favorite GBP play, favorite cash play, favorite value play, dart throw, and then we'll go over our lineups. We'll see how we did last week. We'll update the current standings, and we'll see who is in danger of getting their hair children of the damn style. So that is going to be terrifying. I hope it is not me because I do not want that. But as always, we'll start with our fight to target. Let's start with you, Monk. Monk, what fight are you targeting for UFC Columbus?
Well, I get to go first, so I'm just going to take this one right off the board. Sorry, fellas. I am going to go with the main event, Curtis Blaydes, Chris Daukaus. To keep it short and sweet, I mean, Chris Daukaus' path to victory is pretty much an early knockout in which he'll score pretty well. See Derek Lewis against Curtis Blaydes a few fights ago. I mean, Daukaus, as far as pace, 6.9 points a minute so far, 120 points when he wins. He only averages 3.5 minutes per fight. So very small sample size so far. Blaydes is his biggest step in competition that he's had up to this point. Blaydes pretty expensive, 9,200, but second in pace right behind Chris Daukaus, 5.11 points a minute, 112 when he wins. That's over 10 wins, you guys. A crazy number right there. If Blaydes does not get finished early, I expect a wrestling heavy game. Possibly a few, several takedowns, some control time. And he is a huge striker as well. Expect a ground and pound finish possibly. So points from everywhere. I love this fight going forward on DraftKings this week.
Yep, same for me. Short and sweet. Main event. Blaydes is my favorite play of the week. I think he can get multiple takedowns, eventually find a finish, midpoint late of the fight as well. And as far as Chris Daukaus, I will have some shares of this fight is on the feet. Chris Daukaus hits very, very hard. We have seen Blaydes knocked out before. Most is going to be on Blaydes here. Going to have a ton of them, but I will be sure to sprinkle some Daukaus at 7K. Weezy, what's your favorite fight to target this week?
Well, I mean, I also have Blaydes, Daukaus, but just to switch it up so that you guys get another look here, I'm going to say Matt Brown versus Bryan Barberena. I don't see this one going to decision, you guys. I mean, I think it's like 7 out of Matt Brown's last 8 fights have finished inside the distance. Both these guys are super high volume. Bryan Barberena has got really bad takedown defense, sitting right around 60%. He allows Bryan Barberena 3.88 raw DraftKings points per minute. So when you kind of figure that out over a 15-minute span, that's almost 90 points in a decision win if you just score the average amount of what Barberena allows. But, both Brown and Barberena get finished quite a bit in their losses. This fight is favored to finish inside the distance. Both guys are super high volume. There's some wrestling upside for Brown. There's knockdown upside for both of these guys. So add to the fact that they're 8,200 and 8,000, it allows you to sit in that mid-range and save up a little money for some of these guys that are going to be a little bit more expensive. It's a great fight to target.
Yeah, I like that call. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to second Weezy as well with Brown and Barb, fifth best ITD line on the slate at roughly 60% implied to finish, which I personally think is short. And I think that should probably be closer to 70%. And both guys, UFC runs their fights finish at a 69% clip. Weezy kind of touched on it. Both guys are going to chuck heat. Both guys have power, but they also lack striking defense, with Brown only defending strikes at 55% and Barberena at 45%. So not great defensive numbers. You also have wrestling upside from Brown on paper, as Weezy touched on, but I don't think it can be ignored that this fight is in Ohio, the home state of Matt Brown. He's getting up there at 41. I don't know how many fights he has left in the tank. So I actually don't think he's going to wrestle. And I think these guys are going to stand and bang it out on the feet and try to put on a show for the fans. And Barberena is the perfect dance partner to kind of bring out that old junkyard dog in Matt Brown. So there's obviously 4 other fights above that have better inside the distance lines, but at 8.2 and 8K, I think a lot of those other ones are very favorite loaded, whereas this one, I think you can fit both guys into a lot of your constructions. I think the winner makes the optimal at a good clip.
Yep, good points there. I do like those salaries as well. Move on to our fight to fade. Weezy, we'll start with you. What is your fight to fade for this week?
Yeah, so I'm gonna fade Latifi versus Oleynik, not because I think that it's gonna be really low scoring or anything. It's just I have no clue what the hell is gonna happen in this fight. Just no handle at all. The only thing I can picture when I try to envision this fight is kind of like this low volume, greasy affair. Ilir Latifi's the kind of guy, when he does get takedowns, he really kind of tries to just hold his opponent there, and he'll have to be even more careful on top than usual against a guy like Oleynik. So if Latifi does get his way and he doesn't kind of go out there and starch Oleynik in the first round, it could be a very, very low scoring fight. And then also Latifi scores less than 2.5 DraftKings points a minute, and he allows less than 2 DraftKings points a minute. So it's like something like 1.9 DraftKings points that he allows. He only scores 2.5. He's just kind of like in these greasy fights, and he hasn't knocked anybody out really since he's been a light heavyweight. And the guys that he was knocking out at light heavyweight were like middleweights. So I don't know. I don't have any handle on this fight. I'm not betting this fight. I'm scared shitless to have either side of it in DraftKings. I'm just staying away.
Yeah, that is most definitely the greasiest fight on the card. For me, I'm going to fade Manon Fiorot, Jennifer Maia. I do actually like Manon in cash, but in terms of tournaments, I don't see Manon going out there and starching Jennifer Maia. Maia's only been knocked out once in like 28 fights, and I don't see Manon really implementing wrestling here. I guess she could, but I don't think that'd be smart. I think Manon wins a pretty easy, clear decision, just outpointing Maia on the feet for 3 rounds. And I don't think that's really going to score enough, at least in terms of finding the optimal lineup at 9,400. But like I said, cash, I think she's fine. I think she's safe to win. But for tournaments, I'll be looking elsewhere at some of these other 9K guys. Monk, who are you fading, or what fight are you fading for this week?
I'm going to go with Neil Magny and Max Payne Griffin here. Guys, Magny scores only 93 points per win. That is over 18 UFC wins. Max Griffin less than 90 when he wins over his 6 wins. Both guys over 3 points per minute, but they tend to go to decision more often than not. In fact, Neil Magny has had 17 pro fights go to decision. 14 of his 25 pro fights have all gone to decision. Max Griffin, same basic thing. 8 pro fights out of 12 have gone to decision. So I do expect a lot of the same from this one. And I'll keep it short here. Salary voodoo, guys, $8,800. I'm sure you've heard me say this week after week, is the worst salary to play on DraftKings out of all salaries. It does have a win percentage of 70%, but it only makes the optimal in 21% of those wins. Compare it to its counterpart, 7,400. Not a great salary, only wins 30% of the time, but it makes the optimal lineup double the amount of 88, 42, almost 43%. So if you're going to put me on a side for DraftKings, I'll pick the Griffin side. I don't want any of Neil Magny in my lineup pretty much this week. I don't like how he scores in wins and the salary voodoo. So I'm going to be fading this fight in general.
Sounds good. Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going Saldana and Souza, second worst ITD line on the slate at sub 40% implied to finish. Both guys kind of strikers by trade that play that outside base game, especially in Souza. You know, he's a karate guy who isn't exactly the most committal fighter out there. He did fight a guy in Bogdasarian in his last outing who's a pretty big hitter, but even given the outside game of Souza, Bogdasarian was not able to land his traditional KO, and I actually do think Bogdasarian's a much bigger hitter than Luis Saldana is. Personally, Saldana is a primary finisher, but his last 2 fights have hit the cards in the UFC, which is definitely a more common theme that we have seen in the past with regional finishes not always translating to the UFC. So in general, I think we're going to see probably moderate paced striking affair. Both guys don't really shoot takedowns. So, I wouldn't be shocked by a knockout, but I just don't think it's overtly high percentage. And I don't think, 60, 70, 80 strikes either way and a decision is going to do it on this card. So that's my fade.
Sounds good to me. Let's go to our fighter to fade, and we will start with you, Monk. What fighter are you fading for this week?
I will go ahead and choose Askarov, guys. I do think he's going to win against Kai Kara-France. In fact, if he does lose, I'm going to wish I probably played Kai Kara-France because it's probably going to be a knockout. But he's never been knocked out or finished, rather, in his career, has Askarov. He's a bit too expensive for me for what you get. $9,100. That's like a guaranteed win price, kind of, you know what I'm saying? But he only averages 77 points when he wins. He does not have a finish in the UFC. 3 fights have gone to decision, or four rather, 3 wins and 1 draw. It looks like, I believe that was against the former champ. Yes, Brandon Moreno. He does score pretty well per minute, especially from the takedown grappling side, almost a point per minute in takedowns and the 5th best control time points per minute. Kai Kara-France not shown to be very susceptible to takedowns or control time, ground game in general, allowing less than 0.2 from each category per minute. Also, France allows less than 90 points in a loss. So I think Askarov is just going to be a bit too expensive for me. He's going to have to finish in this fight for me to go ahead and trust him with that kind of salary.
Sounds good. I like it. Weezy, how about you?
I'm fading Bruno Sosa this week. This guy is so low volume. There's literally nothing about his style that should excite anybody about his DraftKings potential. No wrestling, low volume, only finished 3 of his 10 pro wins. Even against a guy with 1 round of gas in Saldana, I still think it's a bad play. I think it's a good fight to kind of just ignore as a whole, like Luke said. But in particular, Bruno Sosa is just, God, he's terrible for DraftKings, man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I went with the Souza 7,900. Like you said, you broke it down perfectly. He does not throw anything. He's not going to go for takedowns. If he does go for him, then he's probably not going to get him. Very, very low volume, not much finish upside. I think he has the 2nd worst finish rate on the entire card, just slightly ahead of Alexey Grasso. Wait, actually, he has the worst finish rate on the card, slightly behind Alexey Grasso at 30%. So don't see a finish, don't see takedowns, don't see volume. Pretty easy fade for me at 7,900. Luke, who are you fading this week?
Going Neil Magny at 8.8K, one of the worst inside the distance line of anyone above 8K at sub 25%. In Magny's last 10 wins, 8 of them have come on the cards. He has scored well in some decisions, but those have also had more significant wrestling components. But he's taking on a guy in Griffin who does stuff takedowns at 70%, with the highest number of takedowns he's ever given up in a fight being 6, which was against Colby Covington back in his debut. No hindsight 2020 with obviously how good of a wrestler we know Colby is at this point, but outside of that fight, he's never conceded more than 1 takedown in a fight. So I don't necessarily think it's fair to assume that Magny's going to come out here and land 4, 5, 6 takedowns in this fight. He's more of a volume-based boxer and not a pure power threat, coupled with Max Griffin never being KO'd in the UFC through 12 fights, who's also fought some bigger hitters than Neil Magny and guys like Mike Perry and Zaleski dos Santos. So even in a Magny win, I don't see him finding the optimal lineup unless he can have a higher level of wrestling success than I'm anticipating, because him finishing Griffin is lower percentage in my eyes.
Yep, that's a good one as well. I did think there was a lot of good fades, and we all mentioned a couple good ones there. Let's go to our favorite dog, and I'll kind of start this one off. Yeah, I struggled with someone because there's not one that like really sticks out this week like a Jack Shore, and there's a couple that I like. I guess I'll go with Marc Diakiese at 7,500. The line has came in quite a bit. I think I saw him around plus 125, plus 130. I think he does have some wrestling upside. I think if he goes for takedowns, he will get them. I think it's very competitive on the feet as well. And I think if he does win a decision, I think he can score pretty good. And again, it's a really close fight, 7,500. I do like the price tag there. So I'll go Marc Diakiese. I think there's some other dogs that stuck out that you guys will talk about, but I think he'll be, I guess, my favorite one. Weezy, who's your favorite dog this week?
It's going to be Sara McMann this week. She's got huge wrestling upside. She goes for takedowns. She gets them. And once she does, she stays on top for minutes at a time. Over a huge sample size, Sara is averaging 3.58 raw DraftKings points per minute. And 60% of those points are coming from grappling. So Rosa has never really seen a wrestler like McMann at all. And Sara is not reinventing herself at the age of 41. Even if Sara goes 2 full rounds with Kara at 3.58 points per minute in a loss, in a 2-round loss, she would still score 35 points. So I think it's still a great option. But look, I just wanted to bring up these numbers on Sara McMann. She's getting her takedowns at a 55% clip. She averages 3.17 takedowns per 15 minutes. And she's averaging over a 12-fight sample size in the UFC, 61.31% control time. The control time stats were actually wrong on UFC stats. They had all of McMahon's control time attributed to Alexis Davis in the McMann and Alexis Davis fight. So when you actually switch those stats and you make them correct, you see that Sara McMann is, out controlling her opponents at better than a 5.5 to 1 ratio. And she's got as good a wrestling numbers as anybody in the UFC, not named Tatiana Suarez right now, even better than Esparza. So it's really impressive what she's doing in the wrestling. And even though Rosa has been stopping takedowns at better than a 91% clip, this is an Olympic medalist. This is going to be different. She's going to spend a lot of time on her back in this fight. She's going to have a very hard time getting back up.
Yep, for sure. This is not a Laura Procopio. This is a Sara McMann. So I do like that play a lot, Weezy. Luke, how about you? Who's your favorite dog?
Yeah, similar to you, Brady, kind of a tough one. I don't overtly love any dogs on the slate, but I'm going Diakiese at 7.5 as well. Second best inside the distance line of any dog on the slate at 25% implied to finish. The worst he has scored in a W in the UFC was 76 points. Obviously taking on a talented kickboxer in Borschev, who's incredibly live to finish himself, but Borchev's striking defense actually isn't very good. And we have seen him get hurt and dropped in fights before. So I think that needs to be noted. It's also important to note that Diakiese wasn't finished by Rafael Fiziev, who we know is a pretty talented kickboxer as well, and was actually able to take a round off of Rafael Fiziev as well. So the other potential merit to Marc outside of a general KO, because he does have power. He is explosive. He has shown offensive wrestling in the past, landing 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. Borchev coming from that kickboxing background. He has dropped minutes and rounds and fights on the mat before, so he's not immune to being taken down. It is a path for Diakiese in the fight to not only win, but obviously score you some extra points from the DraftKings scoring system. Problem with Diakiese is that he's incredibly flaky. You never really know which guy is going to show up, but I think if the best guy shows up, I think Diakiese can compete at a bare minimum with the large majority of the division. So you're definitely playing with some fire and rostering Diakiese, but I do think he has upside, or I should say one of the higher upside to just win his fight as a whole as a dog, and can also score well if he does.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Monk, how about you? Who's your favorite dog on the slate?
I'm going to go with Joanne Wood, and just let me get some stats off before everyone jumps down my throat here. She's one of the best scorers on the underdog side, so I'm playing the scoring upside of Joanne Wood. 4.47 points a minute. That's 4th best on the card. When she wins, and this is women's flyweight, 109.62 points per win. That's over 7 wins. When she gets, she's scored 139 in a knockout, 109 in decision wins, 95 when she wins by split decision. These are great numbers from Joanne Wood. 57% of her wins, she does score over 100 points, and she's scoring from everywhere. 3.3 points a minute in striking, guys. That's the second best pace on the entire card. 0.5 point per minute in takedowns, 0.4 points a minute in control time. And if Alexa Grasso does one thing, it is she has been shown to give up takedowns and control time. 0.7 takedown points a minute her opponents have been getting on her on average in her UFC career. So there is upside here to the Joanne Wood takedown side. And lastly, for me, the $7,200 salary is the best underdog salary to play statistically. It wins 35% of the time, which is way higher than anything from 76 to 66. And in those 35% of wins, it makes the optimal lineup 75%. 3 out of 4 times it wins, it makes the optimal lineup, guys. 7,200, fantastic. I'm going to be all over that one this week, and I'll probably have Wood rostered in a decent chunk of my lineups as a dog.
There we go. I like it. I like the numbers from Monk there. Let's move on to our favorite GPP play. Luke, we'll start with you. Who is it for you?
Yeah, it's got to be Blaydes at 9.2, best ITD line on the slate, 55% implied to finish. And I think he's just one of the safest plays on the board to win his fight as a whole at 80% implied. Obviously, we know Blaydes is a DraftKings darling, as one of the best wrestlers we've seen in the history of the heavyweight division, if not the best, landing over 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's taken on Daukaus, who does hit hard, but his window to win this fight is probably pretty front loaded, and it's even going to be tight in doing so, especially if he's getting put on his back right off the jump. Daukaus also hasn't seen the scorecards in over 5 years, so his cardio is very questionable overall, let alone against a guy coming in with a wrestling heavy game plan on top of who is the caliber of a Curtis Blaydes. So even in the 5-round decision that Blaydes scored over Volkov, where he completely death gassed after probably 10 to 12 minutes, he put up 173 DraftKings points in that fight, completely exhausted after 10 minutes. So that just shows the upside that Blaydes definitely has, even when he is tired. So you got to have Curtis Blaydes in some GPPs this week.
Yeah, definitely agree there. For me, I'm going to go with Matt Brown, 8,200. You guys talked about it earlier that this fight is a very good one to target. And yeah, I kind of like Matt Brown here. I know he's 41 years old, but I've really not been liking what I've been seeing from Barberena. I think, the wars are finally catching up to him. He does not look like himself in there. He's a 45% striking defense, and typically he's a guy that can eat a lot of those punches with his face and keep coming forward. And we saw him dropped twice by Jason Witt. And we know that Matt Brown hits very, very hard. He's a finisher. I think nearly like a 90% finish rate just about. So I like Matt Brown here. I like Matt Brown to get a finish in his hometown. And at 8,200, I think that scores very, very well. But again, he's 41 years old. But man, I really think he can knock him out here. So give me Matt Brown, 8,200. Weezy, what do you like for some GPP here?
Yeah, I got to go with Blaydes as well. I mean, it's virtually impossible not to play this guy. The only 3 people to KO him were Ngannou twice and Derek Lewis once. I mean, Curtis dominates with his wrestling, scores over 5 raw DraftKings points per minute. And Luke was talking about how he scored 150 something points. I mean, when you got a 25-minute fight and then you're scoring 5 points a minute, that's 125 points right there. That you could get 125 and a loss from this guy if he just goes the full 5 rounds and scores what he's been scoring over a very large sample size of fights thus far in the UFC. So it's really hard to ignore him. 25 minutes to work instead of 15. I mean, it's almost impossible to see this guy scoring less than 100 points in a win. So it's just a GPP kind of, you got to lock him in there.
Yeah, but totally agree. Monk, how about you?
I do love both those plays, the Brown and the Blaydes play, but I'll give you something different. Going with the homie, the unlisted homie, the Black Wolf, Kizrayev. He's probably going to be like 9,500. I was thinking 93, but at these odds, he's going to be at least 95. If he is 9,500, I will play him in every single lineup. It doesn't even matter. His first fight in the Dana White Contender Series fight that he had almost 10 points per minute. He would have scored 122 and he won. This is a complete fade play on his opponent, who's 10-5. And as we were, I won't take credit for this, but somebody in the chat before that we started said that this guy Dennis Tui Louis Lin is the only one that would even think about taking this fight against Kizrayev. So that's the only reason he's here. This is a stand-up or a show-off fight for Kizrayev. If he's 9,500, I'm putting him in. I'm hitting the lock button and putting him in every lineup. If he's 9,600, that's a different story. That salary is dog shit. But 9,500 is the absolute best salary you could play for a reason. I mean, it makes the optimal in 56% of its wins, and its average score in a win is 112 points. So I will be playing that if he's at 9,500.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm shocked we still do not have that salary. Hopefully get it very soon. But we'll go on to our favorite cash play. And I went with Curtis Blaydes here, 9,200. I think he's a very good cash play here. I guess the only concern would be like a Daukaus early knockout, but I think, Blaydes is going to get him down early and often. I think he's going to wear him out. We haven't really seen Chris Daukaus in deep waters, and Blaydes is going to just take him down, rinse and repeat. He has the cardio to do so, and I think he eventually finishes him at 9,200. I feel pretty safe with him in my lineup. Luke, who's your favorite cash play this week?
So I'm actually going to give a cash game salary saver and go Griffin at 7.4. I kind of touched on it a bit with my fade on Neil Magny. I do favor Magny to win the fight as a whole, but I think Griffin does have the skill set to compete with Magny on the feet. He actually does land more significant strikes per minute. He's shown power components with 6 UFC knockdowns, and perceivably the takedown defense to stay upright in this fight at 70%. We've also seen Magny get stuck on the fence before. He only stuffs takedowns at 57% to boot. And Max Griffin does land 1.63 takedowns per 15 minutes. So I don't think it's just necessarily one-way traffic in the wrestling to just assume it's Magny who is initiating and having success with it. I just think it's important to note these salary savers in regards to cash, because they're just as important as you're identifying your top range. Because if your bookends are getting iced in 2 seconds and they score you 1 point, you're kind of climbing an uphill battle for the rest of your cash lineup. So I think Griffin's a guy in this type of fight who could even get you upwards of 40 points in a loss. And I actually kind of think he is somewhat sneaky live to win the fight as a whole. So I think he's kind of a nice bottom safe play in cash.
Nice. I like that call, especially for cash there. Monk, how about you? Who are you liking for cash this week?
I will switch it up a little bit and give you Dana Batgarel. Now, this is a bit riskier of a cash play, I will admit that, but 8,500, it's the it's not going to break your bank at all, and that is a fantastic salary to play 8,500, making the optimal lineup in wins at 62.5% of the time. So an absolutely fantastic salary. But let me give you some numbers on Batgarel quickly. 4.31 points a minute, 114.65 points when he wins. That's the second best win rate on the win total on the entire card. He is only $50 more than his average salary. He gives up 2.32 points per minute, which is a differential of just about 2 points a minute. Fantastic. He has the best Draftkings defense, I'll call it, on the card, allowing less than 70 points when he loses. That's only one loss. I understand that. So a small sample size. Now, Chris Gutierrez, his opponent, only one loss as well. But when he did lose, he gave up 113 points. I believe I don't have it on my record here. Someone will have to tell me who knocked him out. I think it was his first fight. Batgarel has, cannons in his fist, guys. Like, if anyone can finish Gutierrez, I think it's going to be Dana Batgarel. Either one of these guys could get finished, really. I'm going to be playing both sides, but I'll be heavier on the Batgarel side, and especially in cash, I guess definitely heavier on him there as well. He's looked fantastic in his past 3 fights. Until he tells me otherwise, from something I see on the screen, I'm not going to think any different. So give me Batgarel here.
Sounds good. I like some Dana myself. Weezy, who are you liking for cash this week?
It's going to be Kizrayev this week for me. I mean, I really don't care that we don't even have a salary for him. I don't care if he's priced up to 9,800. The guy is as close to a lock to score 100 points since like Hamzat fought John Phillips. This is going to be a complete ass shaving. I think he's going to murder Tialulin in there. And if you have Kizrayev in your DraftKings lineup, you will be murdering your DraftKings opponents. So bathe yourself in their blood and just enjoy the Black Wolf doing work on Saturday. I can't wait to see this dude fight again.
Sounds good. Hopefully DraftKings gets it in there by fight time. They're taking forever. But yeah, I do agree with Weezy. That is a phenomenal cash play. Let's go to our favorite value play. I'll kick this one off as well. I do like Joanne Wood, 7,200. Monk, I like all the stats used to back it up. I mean, it's crazy how many points Joanne Wood scores, not only in wins, but, losses as well. If she loses this fight and if it goes 3 rounds, I feel like she's very, very safe for cash, very good floor as well. And if she wins, she can put up a massive score with her volume, maybe mixing some takedowns as well. So yeah, I really like Joanne Wood in terms of a value play at 7,200 here. Monk, who's your favorite value play of the week?
I'm going to go kind of an obvious route. Look, if Curtis Blaydes gasses or just, pretty much just gasses, or somehow Chris Daukaus shows this crazy takedown defense we don't know about, I'll go with Daukaus for a value throw, $7,000. I mean, I already said 6.9 points a minute, almost 120 points in a win so far. So if he wins against Blaydes, it's going to be early. It's going to be high scoring. And yeah, I just see it, probably making the optimal. He's also over $1,000, almost $1,100 cheaper than his average salary. So what's more value than that right there? We'll go Chris Daukaus.
Sounds good. Weezy, who's your favorite value play this week?
I'm going to go with Matt Brown. I mean, I guess everybody has almost touched on it already, but yeah, hometown guy. He's a mid-priced fighter. He goes balls out every damn time. He has one of the best inside distance lines on the card. that isn't in the $9,000 range, and he's sitting down here in the low 8,000s. Barberena allowing 3.88 DraftKings points per minute over a pretty big sample size. Really bad takedown defense. So I could see it being a slugfest. I could see Brown mixing in some wrestling here. And like always, Brown brings violence. So at 8,200 with a high finish upside, an opponent that allows a ton of points, it should be a great fight. And I think whatever side wins this fight is going to be optimal because of the price and because what the pace of the fight should be.
Yep, sounds good. Good points there. And then finally, Luke, who's your favorite value play this week?
I'm going Karol at 8.5. I actually think Gutierrez is quasi live to win this fight, to be honest, but should it extend, or I should say he's quasi live to win the fight, should it extend? But from a DraftKings perspective, I don't think you can ignore Danaz upside in a W with an 80% finish rate, also having the third best inside the distance line at 45% implied. He hits incredibly hard, despite Gutierrez being a pretty evasive fighter. He is a guy that will fight with his hands down, and he can get hit clean when he's effectively cut off. We also saw Karol knock out Brandon Davis and hand him his first KO loss in 22 pro fights in his last outing, a guy who is known to have pretty crazy historic durability. Danaz's last 5 wins have all come in the first round as well. So I do think there's a lot of boom or bust with Danaz, but at 8.5, if he wins and at least performs historically as to how he usually has, he's probably knocking out Gutierrez. It's probably within the first couple rounds, and he's probably going to 10x in that scenario. So I like him as a value upside.
Sounds good to me. I like that one as well. Let's move on to our favorite dart throw. We'll start with you, Monk. Who's your favorite dart throw for this week?
Just so I don't keep talking about Joanne Calderwood, I'll go ahead and choose Sara McMann, women's bantamweight fight against the undefeated in the UFC, Karol Hossa. $7,300. She does score 95 points in a win, so you get tremendous upside. And then just to touch on what Weezy said, she has the second best takedown upside on the card, 1.06 points per minute just from takedowns, just under 1 point per minute in control time. So that's over, 2.05 points a minute just on the ground. Karol has not shown any kind of, she has almost 92% takedown defense, as we talked about earlier. So we have not seen her allow any kind of takedowns yet, but we're going to see what Sara McMann can do here. Give me that as a dart throw, because if she can take down Karol Hossa, she's going to score, an infinite amount of points. I have no idea. So it is a possibility. Give me some McMann there when I'm not playing Joanne Wood.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought I'd be on an island with this one, but no, I really like McMann as well. To bring up some other points, Rosa's takedown defense has not been tested a ton. On paper, it is 91%, but I did see her get taken down quite a bit in a couple fights. Back in 2018, she was sub twice. And, Sara McMann, she's an absolute beast. The only problem is she's 41. Her submission defense is not great. So I think she can come out here, potentially get an early finish. I just worry about what happens if the fight does go extended. But yeah, McMann is she's cheap. Her style, scores a ton of DraftKings points. I think I'm hoping it's going to be sneaky, but looks like most of you guys are on her as well. But I do like Sara McMann myself. Luke, how about you for a dart throw?
Let's complete the trifecta. Mrs. McMann at 7.3 for me as well. You guys pretty much hit on all the main points. I like Rosa, but she is untested as a wrestler. McMann is a savage. She's absolutely crazy physically strong. Problem is she's 41 years old. Her gas tank's questionable. She's a quitter. So that's why she's a dart throw, and you can't have any supreme degree of confidence. But I do want to throw out a couple additional points and stats for Sara McMann that I think are very interesting. Among active female bantamweights, she's ranked number 1 in terms of takedowns landed, number 3 in terms of takedown accuracy, and 5th in terms of submission attempts per 15 minutes. McMann has also not lost a first round since 2015. So you can largely bank on Sara McMann here to go out there and at least win you a round at 7.3 in the aggregate over the last 8 years. She was also able to submit a black belt in Alexis Davis, who had never been, I think, submitted in spanning 32 pro fights. So she can grapple. So yeah, to me, it just comes down to the flakiness of McMann, but you can't ignore her upside, and she tends to score reasonably well in her W's too. So we're going to see where that takedown defense of Karol Hossa is and how she reacts to being on bottom.
Oh, yes. Lots of upside there with McMann, but also lots of red flags. And yeah, that's why she has the dart throw there. Weezy, who's your dart throw for this week?
What do you guys think about McMann for a dart throw?
Yeah, decent.
No.
I've heard of her.
Kai Kara France, I think, is actually a really good one this week. He's a good punt option, super cheap. We've seen Askar have trouble with the scale in the past. That's something that nobody's really talked about. You can see this dude's ribs in his back when he fights. He's very skinny. He's been chinny in the past, and we know it only takes one with Kai Kara France. So in his 6 wins, Kai Kara France is averaging 90.87 points, and we have seen him get, I think, 3 first-round finishes in the UFC. So low salary, high upside punt option, just in case Askarov has a bad weight cut and is a little less durable than he normally would be. Kai Kara France stuffs takedowns at a very good rate. He's got a lot of power in his hands, a lot of upside there.
Sounds good. Yeah, France wins. It's probably going to be by knockout, so I do like that call. So now we'll talk about our lineups, give our quick picks, and head out of here. Anybody in the chat, if you have any questions, if there was a fight we did not touch on, you want us to touch on it, we will. Type them in the chat now. We'll get to those questions very, very shortly. And if I missed any, I'll scroll back up to see if I missed any there. So lineups for this week, and they're probably going to change. We don't have the salary for Kizraev yet, but Monk, do you have your lineup for right now?
Yes, sir. I'm assuming Kizraev is going to be 9,500. So Kizraev, Curtis Blaydes, Dana Batgarel, Matt Brown, Sara McMann, and Joanne Wood. That probably will change, but I'm going wrestle heavy right now, and allowing space in case Kizraev is 9,600.
All right, for me, I'm gonna go with Fiorot, Wood, McMann, Blaydes, Diakiese, and Askarov as of now. But once I do find out the salary of Kizraev, that's going to change. Weezy, what's your lineup for this week?
Okay, so for me, it's going to be the exact same lineup as Monk. We did not team up on this one, but we both came in with the exact same lineup. It's Kizraev, Blaydes, Batgarel, Matt Brown, Sara McMann, Joanne Wood. But like I said, that can change. I might switch things up a little bit, but that's what I'm going with so far. And
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, I'm factoring in Kizraev as well, so I'm going to go with him at the top, assuming he's 95 or 96. Then we're going Blaydes, Dvorak, Barberena, Diakiese, and McMann.
Awesome. So now we're going to see the results of last week, and we're going to talk about the current standings, see who has to get that Children of the Damned Paddy Pimblett haircut there. So last week in last place was Uncle Weezy with Gunnar Nelson, Mokaev, McKenna, Hooker, Volkov, and Vargas scoring 296.47. In third place was Luke with Topuria, Nelson, McCann, Hooker, Shore, and Durden with 422.26. In second place was me with Topuria, Nelson, Pavlovich, Carolina, Shore, and Durden with 444.53. And in first place with a very good lineup in Monk, Topuria, Nelson, Mokaev, Amirkhani, Paul Craig, and Shamil Abdurrahimov, 542.54. Congrats, Monk. You got first place.
Thank you. Yeah, I switched my lineup at the last second, went super wrestler heavy again. Got pretty lucky with Paul Craig and Amirkhani. Abdurrahimov, I almost had him out of the second round. Out of the first round. That's all I needed, Shamil. Just get me out of the first round, but turned out to be okay. But yeah, pretty good week there from UFC London. Will not complain about that one.
Yeah, well done, Monk. You have been on a roll as of late, and you can see it in the standings through 9 cards. We'll go over those now. In fourth place is Weezy with 3,778.97. In third place is me with 3,913.59. In second place is Luke with 3,915.32. And then in first place is Monk with 4,080.62. So it is all very, very close. Congrats, Monk. You're in first place as well.
Yes, sir. Got to keep this rolling against you guys, man. I can't let you. I can't give an inch at all. I can't do it. You'll be just taking my back when I least expect it. Next thing I know, the left arm will be around my neck, and I'll be getting the Paddy Pimblett haircut. I got to keep it moving.
It could all change
very close.
Fast.
We're all in between. 0 to 4th is 300 points, so we're all really close still.
Yeah, and I think we're doing pretty good. I mean, I think these scores are pretty solid, to be honest. let's answer some questions. I only see one in here, so let's answer this one. This one can go to Luke. Luke, I know we haven't had a card in Ohio in a couple of years, but are the Ohio judges shady?
I can't even remember the last card they did in Ohio, to be honest.
I think it was Cleveland.
Like a Stipe card, maybe?
Yeah, might have been, yeah.
Long time ago. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, man.
But yeah, probably all judges are shady for the most part, and I think that is about it. So, yeah, we'll go over quick picks here. Monk, we'll start with you. What are your quick picks for this week?
Bottom to top, we'll go Saldana, Kizraev, Nicolau, Batgarel, Hossa, Borschev, Magny, Fiorot, Latifi, Brown, Askarov, Wood for an underdog pick, and I really want to pick Daukaus, but I'm going to go with Blaydes in the main event.
All right, for me, I will go with Saldana, Nicolau, Fiorot, Kizraev, Dana, Rosa. Give me Neil Magny. Give me Borschev. Give me Latifi, Askarov, Brown, Wood, and Blaydes. Weezy, what are your quick picks?
I'm going to go Blaydes, Grasso, Brown, Askarov. I have no clue who's going to win that Oleynik Latifi fight. I'll go with the Easter Island head in Latifi. We got Diakiese, Magny, McMann, Batgarel, Kizraev by ass shaving, Fiorot, Nicolau, and Saldana.
And finally, Luke.
Going Blaydes, Grasso, Barberena, Askarov, Beefy Latifi, Slava, Magny. Let's say McMann gets it done. Let's say Guapo pulls the upset. Kizraev, Fiorot, Dvorak, and Saldana.
Sounds good. So yeah, guys, that is about it. We'll kick it around. We'll start with you, Monk. Monk, let them know what you have going on and where they can find you.
Good show, guys. Thank you, chat. Be sure to hit the like on this video. You can find me at Monk Maddox on YouTube, on Twitter. I did just put out a game theory video yesterday where I go through all 13 fights from a DraftKings perspective, very stat heavy. You can find usually Salary Voodoo's out today, but I had a technical issue, so Salary Voodoo will be out tomorrow morning, where I pick 3 fights and just talk about probabilities as far as salaries winning those fights and making the optimal lineup. And then lastly, check us out, MMA Engine. Me and Lou bet ya, putting out our Friday happy hour show. I believe it's actually going to be moved up half an hour to 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern this week. So be sure to come in half an hour early. We will post about that as well. But me and Lou will break down all the fights the day before. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Monk. Luke, let them know where they can find you.
Yep. Twitter, SWR_betting, Club and Sub Podcast live on YouTube. Myself and a round table of other gamblers breaking these fights down every single Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be on tonight. It'll be me and my boy John. So if you want to listen to our thoughts on the card from a betting perspective, we'll be chopping it up there, obviously on here every single week. And I guess we're going to have a week off from each other. So hopefully we can go into the pay-per-view on a good note.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to get that week off, relax a little bit. Weezy, sure. Let them know where you can find him.
Yeah, you can find me on my channel on YouTube, Uncle Weezy. And tonight you can kind of find me on my couch. I'll be chilling out, listening to the Club and Sub boys take care of business. And as soon as they're done at 10:30 Central Time, I'm going to highlight a new show on my channel, which is called Ask Weezy. And it's just going to be me with my spreadsheets and my prop template. And you can ask me any kind of question, and I'll go through all my stats. And I'm just going to interact with the chat. We'll just talk fights. And if you have any specific questions about DraftKings points scored, about how a certain heavyweight like Blaydes, how his wrestling numbers match up against the rest of the division, ask me. I'll sort the spreadsheet live on my screen for you guys, and we can kind of just take a look through the stats, have some fun, shoot the shit. That's what's going on tonight after the Club and Sub podcast. You can also find me on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot of new content over there. And you can find me on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday for Stat Diggers, every Wednesday for the DFS show, and every Saturday for the live watch along. Hey, let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Columbus, you guys.
Let's do it. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, on YouTube here on Pub Sports Radio, on my channel, DFS by the numbers, and then on the MMA Engine. And yeah, guys, that is about it. Looking forward to UFC Columbus and the week off, and then we come back with a big pay-per-view card. Best of luck. Sorry for the delay. It was not our fault. It was StreamYard's fault. So sorry about that, but we got it done. We got it all through there. So that's about it, guys. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon. See you.